Shabbat, Shabbat, come home and rest. Shabbat, Shabbat, Yahowah's best. Lay down the weak, let your soul be free. Shabbat, Shabbat, come back to me. 6 days we work, then we bask. We leave the noise to hear Yah's voice. We listen, we learn, we struggle to know. We walk with Yah through the mikre. Shabbat, Shabbat, come home and rest. Shabbat, Shabbat, Yahowah's best. Lay down the weak, let your soul be free. Shabbat, Shabbat, come back to me.
Oh, lovely introduction. We are gathered here. We've got Rich on the controls. He is taking care of Kara. We have ElYah sitting back on her section of the couch as she did for 2 hours today as we had the ElYah Song Fest. I have Mike down there in the bottom with the little glasses and the big brain. Russell and Mariah above him. And the forest, we have a different look on Dr. Jeff in a whole different angle of his home. And up there with the people flirting with my wife is Kevin. Over here on this side, we'll see if we can get him in later. We also have Perry. And Wookie is at the ready, as you can see. He is the desk carpet. It was a fun experience today as we played, what was it, 8 of ElYah's songs. We're making an attempt to be a bit more passionate and emotional with an audience that does not seem to be motivated by evidence and reason within Israel. And I think that program we delivered today for 2 hours did a really nice job of making an emotional appeal on behalf of Israel. One of the really fun things that we were able to do today, and for those that go to yadayah.com, you'll see it, is that I've posted the work that I've done so far on rewriting Written in Stone. I have, as you know, I've finished the rewrite and the publication or pre-publication work for Coming Home 4, 5, and 6. All we're doing at this point is awaiting Mike's fact checking, and we'll have 3 volumes. It's just 2,000 pages, Mike. So I don't know what's taking you so long.
Well, it's gone for 3 weeks up in Illinois. So
okay, well, that and 2,000 pages both will pretty much do it. But we'll have those books published here quite recently or quite soon. And in the Written in Stone, there was something that came up in the last couple of days that I thought was delicious, and that was that after having identified who the Malaka is in the story of the Shabbat, in the first statement on the second tablet, we were able to finally, firmly, and clearly identify the 2 people represented by the mother and father in the second statement on the second tablet. So if you go there, I think you'll read it. You'll see what the evidence is, and you'll see why I am absolutely certain that the father and mother cannot be our heavenly father and mother, because there is no heavenly mother. So that sort of disqualifies that right off the bat. And the statements there and elsewhere tell us do not respect or honor, even listen to our earthly parents, because they lead their children astray. And I put in the proof for that, which leaves us only a single candidate for each of those positions. And once you go there, it's a really interesting next step to figure out what is Yahweh offering with the 3 individuals in his name. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we progress. We are going to repeat 2 of our songs this evening that we played during the vlog on the vlog. The first one does not have graphics yet. It is a concerto. It was both of these were written by ElYah. In this particular case, I had asked her to create a classical song on the lines of Wagner or Vivaldi or Tchaikovsky or Rachmaninoff, that was uplifting, that made your heart want to soar and makes your whole essence want to move. It's marching orders without the march cadence, if you will. And I think she did a marvelous job of doing that. And not only that, the lyrics, boy, every lyric in that song, it's almost a tearjerk when you consider how appropriate they are for what we're trying to achieve. So I'd like to play Concerto and Bashar and B minus first, and we'll go from there to people. But this is quite a moving song.
Talking through the wreckage with silken words and witness-worn lips, pulling the truth from the tangled tongues of temples, tyrants, and tribal warlords. Not a throne nor a thunderbolt, no god in a borrowed disguise, just a man with a map of meaning and a match for manufactured lies. He found the name beneath the noise, the name religion had erased and nullified, took the dust off the ancient door and let the living light back in. From Qumran caves to crowded airwaves, from the script to the speaking room, Yada followed the thread through the centuries and called the children out of gloom. No price on the pages, no purse for the proof, just a voice for the voiceless and a roof for the truth. Hear the bright good news, bring the battered back to the blue. Sound the signal strong, Yahweh's name has waited too long. Yada knows, so Yada shows where the river of revelation flows. Not religion, not a ruler scar, just truth on the tongue of the Bashar. He said Yada is more than reading, more than a word in a weathered line. It is knowing, naming, noticing the Father's mind meeting mine. Torah, not a tethered burden, but a trail through the thorns and thistles. A signed invitation home to family, not a book of religious whistles. Doubt sang first from the doorway, the beloved bore the cost. The Lamb crossed death and opened life for every child once lost. And the herald holds up the lantern, not claiming the light as his own. He points through the fog of falsehood to the Father, the family, the home. No creed to control you, no laws to command, just Yahweh's witness and a willing hand. Bring the bright good news, bring the battered back to the blue. Sound the signal strong, Yahweh's name has waited too long. Yada knows, so Yada shows where the river of revelation flows. Not religion, not a ruler's scar, just truth on the tongue of the Bashar. A herald is human, flesh, breath, bone, not the king, he is the voice calling home. No halo for hire, no altar, no artifice, only the evidence, only the witness. When the world sells shadows as salvation's flame, the Bashar brings back Yahweh's name. When the scrolls are silent and the proud depart, he puts the promise back into the heart. Bashar.
So good.
So good, Leah. I can't imagine that with graphics and the lyrics flowing underneath it. That is really it's really extraordinary. And it's not just that the music's so powerful and the voice is so uplifting and the message so sound. It's just the way the lyrics were crafted. It's such an interesting. It must be 20 interesting turns of phrases in that, where just the transition from one thought to the next and the way each thought was presented. It's really artistically done.
You're not the only artist with words.
Well, it was beautiful. I mean, it does cover a lifetime of work, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's some sections of that we could proudly keep as the byline to the website. I mean, it's highly motivational.
I may not have social skills in so much as other parts of my life, but I can turn a phrase.
Yeah, you can turn a phrase. That is for darn sure. That there were a lot of phrases in that were turned. Pretty amazing. What do you think, Kevin? You haven't had a chance to work on that one yet. You've just heard it and had a chance to play it. You'll be the trans man before too terribly long. But what are your thoughts?
I love the dynamics of it. I love that how it opens. There's a little hit, and then it's quiet, and then you get really good dynamics, and it's like there's acts to it, right? There's the second act, and it gets really powerful, and then it comes back down low again, and then big finish at the end. So I really like that about that.
All of that was programmed in.
Yes,
I'm a sucker for horns, so I love for the syncopation on when the horns and it's that it's that majestic, that epic feel to it. Bashar, I mean, it's good tune. I love it. It's got some good words, absolutely. So I mean, there were words there. So.
Yeah, so you're a horn guy and I'm a word guy. So I'm
true.
I can't get over the words and you can't get over the horns. Collectively, it strikes me that it's comparable to Wagner's March of the Valkyries. That this piece has that same kind of passion to it, where you'd say, all right, this is really something special, but the lyrics are 1,000 times better than March of the Valkyries. And I actually think the voice is better because in the March of the Valkyries is strictly instrumental. And this is instrumental and a vocal piece and a powerful message all put into one. So
can you imagine we're going to get to do this song with Karub playing the instruments and like doing the backup singing, So
yeah.
Can you
imagine if we get even Dode to sing? Yeah, can you imagine we'll get Dode to sing Bashar? That he'll have the backup, and at the time we'll have Leah with full voice. She'll be in a concert gown, and we'll be sitting around the campfire, and wow. Yeah, with the caraboom blasting the trumpets. I bet they're good with horns.
I bet they I bet they are.
Yeah.
They got some pipes.
They got some pipes. Yes, stunning. So, Dr. Jeff, that was your, I think you heard it earlier today. That was your second go on Concerto Bashar.
Absolutely scintillating, the crescendo, decrescendo, inspiring, and absolutely and profoundly therapeutic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so many of those lyrics are so resonate within us because they are the message we've been about now for 25 years. So I love that part. I like the fact that we've got Leah's feet now there, but it's nice tootsies. Yeah, nice tootsies. She's over there on the couch with.
We don't wear shoes here.
With Rich. So, what do you think, Russell?
I think it's great. Kevin kind of stole all the words I was going to use. The dynamics in it are great. The music by itself tells a good story. You know, if you
Yes.
listen to just the music alone, but then having the lyrics. I was just able to read them for the first time today. I heard it this morning, but I was busy working, so was able to read them. But I like there's kind of contemporary, a little bit of modern mix in there with the melodies, because older music
Yes.
usually doesn't have those hooks that we need now, you know, the generic little craft singles. But I
Yes.
love the part where it's Yada knows, Yada shows, and that's like a
Yes.
hook, very memorable. It's like people
Yes.
now need that kind of stuff, you know, mixed in with the classics. So I think it's great.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a lot
He's
to it.
not the light, but he shows the lamp, and he's not the way, but he has the map. There's really some wonderful twists of phrase.
Beautiful poetry.
It's
Yeah,
nice.
you're an emotional girl, Mariah. What do you think?
My face falls off. It's beautiful.
My face falls off. You're
Then,
an open
like-
book, sweetheart.
Pretty much.
You are an open book.
I don't fake it well. What he said, as far as like the music and how dramatic it is and intense, but then there's different acts, like you said, it tells a story.
Yeah, different.
And then the
acts.
words themselves, the poetry is so loaded. There's
So
so
loaded.
much there.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
you could do hours just on what each of those turn of phrase actually mean, and how important they are for people to
A whole
embrace and know.
study, multiples
Yeah, it's
study on what that is.
and I don't think you could have that much range in a song if it wasn't a bit classical. You know, with classical music, I think you can have that kind of range. If it was anything other than classical, I would think it would come off as forced. But with the classical theme, it doesn't.
Okay, so can I tell my little story about the research that went into the song?
Sure.
The research that went into the song was I wanted to create a song that would specifically target intellectuals,
Okay.
people who are more logical in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I searched out which genres of music, and it happened to be classical. And then you had your your request that you wanted a classical song.
Yes.
Therefore, it just dawned on me, write something very epic
Yes.
about what it is they need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I stayed up the entire night writing it, ripping it up, rewriting it, and so on, until I was happy. But the prompt, the music prompt, was part neurological science, part psychological science, and part musical science. Putting them together is hard to do, especially when you're working with a machine. But that was as close as I could come to what I had in my head. Working with humans is much different than working with machines.
Yes.
Machines will work all day, but humans give better results.
Yeah, but imagine if you were to try to do that and you actually had an orchestra here. And you were trying to communicate and write sheet music for all that orchestra and get all of that orchestration.
It would take years.
It would take years and piles and piles of money.
Yes.
And so this is one of the marvelous applications of AI. You can say, you wrote every lyric. You can say this is, and you've trained the voices. This is, and you say the kind of genre you want, what kind of, you choose the instruments. And so it is.
Yeah, these are not simple prompts. These are very close to the 1,000 character limit that Suno allows.
So you're
they're
up there.
very detailed. Down
Prompts.
to,
Yeah. So you're giving them 1,000 character prompt with every movement of the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have a new one tonight already.
Yes, we're going to have people, you mean? Or another one?
No, we have a new one.
Oh, you have a new one?
Yes.
Oh, you wrote a new song today?
You're killing me,
I
Smalls.
walked in and you showed me the Concerto Bashar this morning. It was hot off the press, and there you go. You've got a new one.
Wow.
So, Mike, would you fact check that one, or would you let it roll?
The song?
Yes. The song?
Oh, okay.
You're a drummer, man. You can.
You need more timpani.
Yes. He gets
More
it.
timpani. No, I like the dynamic. Yeah, it's a great song. I like the dynamics. The problem with modern music is I don't listen to
Everything?
it because it's crap. Yeah, it's just crap. But it's too compressed. Modern music is way too compressed. There's no dynamics. It's just like one solid
Flat.
volume level.
Yeah.
It's very flat.
It's compressed.
No dynamics.
No
Yeah.
dynamics.
I'm
Yeah,
all
that's-
about the dynamics.
Yeah, this did have great dynamic range. It soars.
Yeah.
But you can't
Yeah, it
stay up
goes
in
from
the, you
pianissimo
can't soar the
to-
whole time or you wear it somebody out. So it has to come up and down and know when to crescendo and when the voice has to soar and when the instruments do and how they lead each other. And still you all are talking about the music. It's the lyrics that are powerful.
I aim to gut punch the intellectual with my music, and that's I think it worked.
Yeah. What do you think there, Rich?
Well, I haven't counted it out yet, but it starts out, it sounds like 6/8 time. Because after we get to the second chorus,
It switches.
it's got a different backbeat.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does.
So she's changed time signatures at least halfway through the song. But the thing about 6/8, it sounds similar to 4/4, but it's also an unusual time signature to do in a classical band. But she still pulled it off. But I don't know. I haven't counted out. I'm not sure it's 6/8 or not. But I can tell there's a time signature change.
Yeah. It's sneaky. Yeah.
We have a sneaky time signature change.
Yeah.
And we have our intellectual over here since ElYah wrote this for intellectuals and he likes classical music. What's your impression?
Being the intellectual,
Mhm.
all I can say is it brought a tear to my eye, and that is impressive.
Mhm.
Yeah, especially for INTPs, they're not in the feels very
Yes.
much. So
Yeah, it is exceedingly emotional. And speaking of emotional, we have a second song here. This is People. It has full graphics. It has actually transparent people in it, and it is a really interesting piece, reflecting a very seldom considered aspect of Yahweh's nature. And cut to the chase. People don't like God very much. And God doesn't like people very much. And
I think he's just returning their sentiment.
he is. For 6,000 years that we know of, people have treated God very poorly, and they prefer religious gods made in their own image. And God says it's your choice, but I think it's revolting. I think you're idiots, and I want nothing to do with you. So the overwhelming preponderance of people, God literally has disowned. He has no interest in at all, and they have no interest in him. So I guess that's fair. But the religious notions that Muslims want everyone to worship Allah, and God says, no, I don't even want to know the majority of you. I have no interest in you. And Christians, God loves everybody, wants to save everybody. No, he has no interest in that at all. He is not only in Hosea, but also in Bereshith and Genesis. God made it really clear that he regretted creating humankind. And the big problem is that when men and women became many, they became all bad. That individual men and women, very few, have the potential for both, but collectively, we're rotten to the core. And that's a message that most people are unfamiliar with. It makes a big difference in what we are trying to achieve, however, because we would be doing God a huge disservice if we were popular.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and it also means the expectations are achievable. We'll get hundreds of people that'll be part of the covenant and be prepared and equipped and ready to go and chomping at the bit, properly educated and enthusiastic and passionate and intellectually charged. We're going to have several hundred really, really phenomenal covenant members between these two harvests. And that's more than enough. That'll get her done. And It's enough to do everything God wants done, and yet not so many that we're looking over our shoulder and saying, "Oh man, I got to clean up on aisle 9." It's just a really perfect kind of a scenario, and we'll have maybe 3 times that number in the mortal remnant. So that's a manageable number, and it'll be a lot more, maybe 10 times that number or more, as there'll be thousands, I think, in the goyim who'll be brought in to be of service during this time. But there'll be an administration of them as well, and it's going to be a lot more manageable, a lot more achievable this way. So this people song is one that says, there's a problem with people, and God wants us to be aware of it and to not only share his viewpoint on humanity, but embrace it to some degree, to recognize that God's not trying to save everybody. We're not here to convince the religious to stop being religious or the political to stop being political. I mean, what were the odds anyway, if you're going to talk to a Marxist Democrat or a MAGA Republican, that you're going to tell them, you're both completely lost, or that you're going to talk to a Twistian and say, God's not a man and men cannot kill God. This religion is really stupid. Or a Muslim and say, the reward for killing people is not multiple virgins. I mean, this is really, really stupid. Come on. But it won't resonate. Or you talk to a conspiratorialist and say, vaccines have been done more good for more people than anything man has ever invented. So you may want to back off your universal hatred of such things. And chemtrails is, well, about as stupid as reptilian overlords and flat Earth. So
that's our favorite group.
I know.
I thought we were behind the reptilian overlords.
I know we were. I know. I knew it the moment I stepped into it that I was. That we have to give reptilian overlords a new opportunity now that we know that Donald Trump is Satan incarnate. So Satan is a snake, and he's clearly reptilian. So got a little snake brain, maybe a frog or tadpole brain in that sucker. So there may be some truth to the reptilian overlords. Just kidding. So anyway, that's the story of people. I probably butchered the song, and now nobody want to hear it. But I do think it's lovely. I think the graphics here are beautiful. I love the transparent people in it, and the beautiful gown that Miss Leia is wearing, and the fact that she comes on stage, she is all ethnicities, and that's something we're trying to do our best at, is being completely open, so that everyone, regardless of country of origin or ethnicity, feels welcome. We want you to come in and learn everything you can about Yahweh and make an informed decision regarding him.
And your own soul.
Yeah, your own soul. And ultimately, of course, when we are energy-based beings and our souls are covered in light, ethnicity won't matter up to a point. There's still an aspect of ethnicity, I think, that will matter, and that is that culturally, we all bring some baggage in from our cultural experiences and where we grow up. And I think that makes us richer by having different backgrounds and different ethnicities from a cultural standpoint.
We all have things to overcome.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
And there's beauty in everything. There's, we talked about Depot a lot today. He's from Nigeria. I think that is aesthetically, in terms of the animal life and wherewithal, it's the most beautiful continent. So there's aspects of everything, I think, that we can benefit from. So let's play People, Mr. Spinmeister.
people who chase people are the loudest people in the room. We're talking, always talking, never listening, and yet letting ego hide all the truth inside, acting more righteous than right. Critics are very certain people, they're the loudest people in the world, with one target, one very easy target, a feeling deep in their chests as they know all the rest. No need to examine first, just be a voice that needs to curse. People who predate people, voices that need a villain, are the weakest voices in the room, with one mirror, one very honest mirror, feeling deep in the soul, says they're fragment, not whole. People who hate certain people, who mix lies and religion, conspiracy and coercion as manufactured consent to deceive people. No more truth and no more light till they stop the fight. Voices that deceive are the weakest voices in the room. People are most deceived in themselves and to their ends. People.
So that's definitely a celebration of woman being strong, being brilliant, being in total command, knowing, I mean, that woman comes across as beautiful, and yet I am here to tell you what I know, and I don't really give two hoots what you think, because I know more than you know. That is a celebration of woman. You know, I am woman, hear me roar. That is that's it. Between that song and those graphics, and of course the high voice that shatters the glass, but it's shattering people. Really interesting visuals that have been put together for that song. Both of these songs are the kind of thing that if they started playing around you, you are going to stop and notice. They are not. Oh yeah, that's some elevator music in the background there, or some modern monotone piece, or a bit of rap trash. No, this. That's real music there. That's pierce the soul.
I'll have to prove to you one day that rap isn't actually trash. It's a tool. Depends on who the user is.
That's true.
Yeah, the lyrics, the tempo, the song, everything it's all one.
You could do the country rap, also known as crap.
Yeah, country rap is called crap.
Thank you.
I tell you what, I have never heard a rap song that didn't cause me to want to scream and run out of the room.
I will play you. So I will play you some of my anthology of Tupac, and we will have discussion on rap. So
there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
That's good. Yeah.
Blondie's Rapture is the only rap song I like. That was like the first one that I've heard.
Oh wow.
Okay, well,
I got to say, Craig and ElYah, both of these songs, they are piercing and they are gripping. They penetrate the soul and they grab hold of you.
They do. They leave you with a richer for the message.
And lyrically, what the song does is it very much. What are the three levels of intelligent communication? You know, the lowest is people talking about other people. You know, you can always tell it's when you're having a conversation with another person about an ideas, right? That is really elevates that conversation, and it's the intellectual between the two people that are having that conversation. I look behind me and I see this exclamation point on People, and it reminds me of People magazine. It reminds me of what journalism is today. It's people talking about other people, and it's completely pointless, you know. I mean, because there are so much bigger things to talk about. What are the three rails of politics, or the third rails of politics, right? Politics and religion. Those are the things you said at a dinner party, that in polite conversation, when you're making friends, and that when things don't matter, you don't touch politics or religion. When it matters, when you need to listen, learn, and live, what do we talk about?
Politics,
don't be political. And don't be religious, right? This is why. That's what we talk about. So,
talking about ideas that matter. That's why we even do the blog on the blog. Even though there's people that make statements, we really have no concern over the people, other than those that are making actually vomiting all over themselves. But it's to repudiate the ideas that were wrong and to commend the ideas that are right.
There's a difference between correcting people and talking about people.
Yeah, that's the social media thing where they want to talk about people or living your life online. What is it? They keep up with the Kardashians. I've never watched an episode. I understand it's very popular, but
never desire to.
It has zero interest to me.
It's everything that's wrong with society, I heard.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just
that's what that show is.
Decadent, meaningless lives. People trying to impress one another.
Trash.
It is. It's trash. So, Dr. Jeff, you actually looked I think it's your daughter that opened the drapes. That the room's actually more appealing, and the lighting effect is actually better. You almost look heavenly with the light behind you now. So I know you were kind of concerned that you had it closed and it was open back up, but it works.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, behind there we have a lake, and we have our birds, and we have it's pleasant, but it's about 112 degrees.
So there's a lake back there, but it's the birds are baking, so it's
it's a dry heat.
It's a dry heat.
In Arizona.
After living in Florida and then going to Arizona, it's like one of them is you jump into either you're in a swamp or you're putting your head into an oven. Take your pick.
Yeah, swamp or an oven. Okay, well, yeah, I would agree.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, we that's why I like it here. We're 10 to 15 degrees cooler, which makes a big difference. And we're 10 to 20 percentage humidity lower. And we always have a nice breeze. So the combination works. So you're at 119 there, and on our high today was in the high 80s.
We do get our Sahara dust storms. But
yes, we do.
Hurricanes.
Nothing is perfect, but it's pretty good. Anyway, Miss, you took your face off, and Mr., you took your face off. Are married to Mrs. Take Your Fake Off. Would that one work for you?
It's beautiful. I love this. The silk of the dress is amazing. How he got that.
Yes.
It's called. It's a very specific material called liquid silk.
Liquid silk.
Liquid silk. Yeah. It's. So I created the dress. That was my first dress creation in AI. Oh my, it was so hard. It was really frustrating. I'd never designed a dress in AI before, and it just kind of didn't get the technical details that I was trying to go with. And it was hard, but the material's called liquid silk.
It's beautiful. I can almost feel it on my skin.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
super soft, and it really is. That's a lovely material.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
very, those that don't know, Leah was a professional designer, high-end women's apparel. Femme Fatale was her line out of South Beach in Florida. And so she has worked with every fabric and virtually every designer of note in the world. And so now to be able to do, she writes the lyrics for her music, she scores it, she then produces, gives the direction to to Depot or John Boyd, or in fact, a lot of times now it's Matt that is working on these things. You too, Maria, and now she even designs the dress for the characters that are being.
She's got some.
I just want to know.
Yes.
I just want to know if the dress has pockets. That's all I'm interested in. Does the dress
That
have
one
pockets?
doesn't have pockets.
Pockets.
Okay.
Couture
Yes.
does not have pockets.
Where you want to
Not
put your
always.
hands there, big guy?
No. It's a very well-known fact that if a
Yes.
girl has a dress that has pockets in it, she will go out of her way to tell you,
To buy the
yes,
dress
this
with the
dress has
pockets.
pockets. Yes.
Yeah,
It is-
because they took away pockets in women's clothing.
Pockets.
Yeah,
They
they,
did.
Yeah.
And
a
thank
dress,
them for
yes.
that.
I do too. Everyone does.
Yeah.
yes, but there are certain fabrics and certain styles and shapes that you could not put a pocket in,
Indeed.
because if you put anything there, it's going to be obvious that we've placed something that doesn't belong in that. There
much
was nothing
material.
that doesn't belong in that dress.
No. Nothing. Yeah. That dress is hot.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Mhm. So
As is the avatar underneath it.
as is the truth with the avatar.
But
underneath.
there's a new dress coming up. It's red. It's very stunning.
Oh, you got
Yeah,
the red
it's
dress
good.
for the
It's a
opera.
red dress.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's
medium red.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
not enough drum beats in there, is there?
Well, I
Right,
was
right.
wondering, did you consciously copy Barbara Streisand's
I did.
people?
This is a counter punch.
Yeah, I know the
because it's
lyrics are
very
like
much
the
a-
opposite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Streisand's is people who like people are the luckiest people in the world, but that's
Right.
not really
It's a
true.
counter punch to her song.
Yes, it's the antithesis of that song.
Yeah.
There aren't. I mean, the lyrics are, of course, the opposite. There's a couple of places where the melody is similar and the vocal range is quite similar, and even the voice in a couple of places is fairly similar, but it's more of a
Yeah, the
counterpunch to
beginning's
it.
similar.
Yeah, the
The beginning
beginning
of
is
the
similar.
song is similar.
Oh, I got the idea
Yeah.
when I was talking to Dr. Jeff,
Yeah.
actually, because it's such a cultural icon within the Jewish community, period.
Yeah, Funny Girl was
Um,
the movie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, like we were discussing a problematic person, and I was just like, oh, people. And I was like, wait, Streisand. It just started playing in my head. I'm like, wait, Streisand. I'm like, wait, what if I do a counter punch to that? Yeah.
I said to
I've come
Leia,
on.
man, people who need, I started saying people who need people. I said, you should be all over this. And within about 10 minutes, she's like, let's look at the lyrics. And you could tell within a few minutes, she had it done. She was gone. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, this is just.
Oh wow. Yeah, it happens fast with Leia. I
You never know where ideas are going to
Yeah.
come from.
growing up when I made my first trip to China and to Taiwan is when the first CDs came out. Prior to that time, I was a vinyl guy and had all the different kinds of vinyls and the fancy Marantz turntables and the speakers that were the size of sofas. And my home, you had to be cool if you wanted to go out and bring the girls home after a date. So you had to have all the good stuff. And I remember the sound quality, the best sound quality you could get with a needle and vinyl. And I went overseas, and after leaving China, I went to Taiwan, and they had in their stores the first CDs that I'd ever seen, and then CD players and little speakers that would go in your ears from those CD players. And I was just blown away by the purity of the sound and how vastly superior the sound was to anything
Vinyl, yeah.
anything I'd ever heard before.
Yeah, it was a revolution in music.
And yeah, it was a revolution in music, and it was voices like Barbara Streisand, who has always been one of my favorites because I think that voice has so much emotion and so much power and so great a range, and yet it's so easy for her.
Extremely expressive emotionally
Right.
as well.
And she is an extremely talented storyteller in her songs. And part of being an actress, I would assume. And then there was a period of time where I said, yeah, I've probably had my fill of Barbara Streisand. She really went on an extremely liberal campaign where everything was Marxism. And it just got to be much. About 5 years ago, Barbara Streisand just got it together. And she became a moral voice and a conscience for the country. And I began to listen to what she was saying and how she was saying it. And I changed my perspective entirely on the woman and really came to appreciate her as a spokesperson for society that had a moral tone and character to her, and started listening to her music again because of that. And so doing an inverse of one of her songs is really appealing, but it's still in honor of a really elegant, high character Jewish woman.
She has a voice of velvet.
Yes. Yeah, we're talking at lunch, and that, this Sion has a, just perfect tone and everything in her voice. And there's others that do it. There really hasn't been a female singer that has the kind of power and range and emotion and storytelling capability of Barbara Streisand. She's really in a,
the difference
league by
between
herself.
Celine Dion and Barbara Streisand. They're both vocally expertise in their craft, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed this also with violinist and pianist.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between, I think, culturally, a Jewish artist and non-Jewish artist is that the Jewish artist carries this extreme sadness underlying even a happy song. You can feel this undercurrent of sadness.
Far more passion and emotion, and so much of it is hurtful. Yeah. It's like a good comedian. Almost all good comedians have had travesty in their lives, and a lot of the comedy comes out of pain, and a lot of the beauty of Barbara Streisand's songs seem to come out of pain. And being Jewish in this world is not easy. So maybe that's part of it too. But
growing up in Jewish families is not easy.
That is also true. All right. So with that, I'd like to return to our host choice. Last week, Kevin got to choose what we were going to cover. We were in the middle of Malachi. We're going to return to Malachi. This is all about the witness and what the witness provides. And so, without further ado, let's talk a little bit about what Malachi had to say, inspired by God. Where we were at the end of our program last week, we read, "Remember the Torah teaching and guidance of my associate Moshe." So while this is recorded in Malachi, which means my messenger, the person speaking is Yahweh. Moshe was not Malachi's associate, but he was Yahweh's associate. So this is Yahweh speaking in first person to us through Malachi, and in so doing, the first thing that he is asking is Zakar Torah. And there's two aspects even of that as we get into it. The first is that, Zakar does mean to remember. It also means memorable men. Zakar are men who are memorable, and there's a number of men who are memorable in God's story. Moshe is clearly one of them. And he says that he is Eben, which means that he's a worker. He's there to serve, to be a collaborator. So remember the Torah teaching and guidance of my associate Moshe. He did not say, remember the oral law that I never gave to anybody. And that applies to no one, that it can be credited to no one because, well, I never provided it. It's the one and only Torah, singular. It means teaching and guidance, instructions and directions. And it was offered to us by Moshe, Yahweh's associate, Yahweh's co-worker, which to show the way to the benefits of the relationship, Asher, I provided instruction. Yasha'yah is a word that is routinely corrupted by the rabbinical types to be a command, because they want the Torah to be laws, and so that if it's laws and Yasha'yah becomes commands, and then mitzvah becomes commandments, they got their religion. But that's not what the word means. It means to instruct, to delineate, to direct. And used in the shadow of Torah, it has to be viewed from what the Torah represents, and the Torah represents directions, instructions, teaching, and guidance. And so here we have a marvelous shadow to tuck Yasha'yah under so that it can be better understood. And all mitzvah is Yasha'yah with the my prefix, which means to ponder the implications of instructions and directions. So he says, I provided my instructions and directions through him in Choreb for all Yisra'el, including the prescriptions for living that cut you into the relationship. Choke. Choke means to etch in stone and to cut someone into to something, and the means to exercise good judgment regarding the way to resolve disputes. Mishpat. Mishpat is to ponder the implications of Shabbat, making good decisions. So marvelous words there. God's pretty good with the vocabulary. He managed to get co-worker in, memorable man with Zakar, Torah, which means teaching and guidance, Moshe, which means to draw out, Asher, which is to reveal the way to the benefits of the relationship, Yasha'yah, which is to provide instructions and directions. Choreb is the dividing line. It is this knife's edge. You're going to be on one side or the other. There's no fence setters in Choreb. For all Yisra'el is duplicitous in the sense that it can be those who struggle and contend against God, or it can be those who engage and endure with God, depending on your response to God. Choke and Mishpat are essential elements of the Torah. The choke are the prescriptions for living that cut us into the relationship that you can view as being chiseled in stone. And the Mishpat is the means that we use to process the information that God has given us, to value evidence and reason, to make informed, rational decisions, and to know that God is using the Shabbat to resolve disputes. So, powerful terminology in Malachi 4:4. Behold, pay attention. I myself will send you ElYah. Well, that's interesting because Yahweh took ElYah the same way he took Chinook, right? Mm-hmm. And so if he's saying, I'm going to send you ElYah, you might say, well, who was the other guy that was set up that way? Chinook. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's something you ought to be thinking about here. And God wants to be coy about it. He does not want to, even though I view every one of his cards is laid face up on the table, God's communicated like this over that 1,000-year period, and over the 2,500 years since, nobody has understood it. So you do have to think your way through it if you're going to benefit from it. So, behold, I myself will send ElYah. Now, the fact that God sends ElYah to Yisra'el, what is he telling us? Who was ElYah?
Oh, he's the one that was completely against religion. Was and politics. We're kind of behead him, And
yeah, he was the most outspoken prophet of all of the prophets when it came to impugning religion and politics. He was told not only to blast them sarcastically and demean religion and politics, and was spectacular at eviscerating them. At the end of it, God told him to go kill all of the prophets of Baal and Asherah. So he's the kind of guy, when he shows up, what would you do if you were religious and political? Run for the hills, right?
Run away.
Yeah.
You know that he challenged the prophets of Baal and Asherah, and they didn't have an answer for anything. So do you think it would be wise for a rabbi to try to challenge him?
Absolutely not.
And what do you think the fate would be if a religious person tried to challenge ElYah? God's going to be consistent. So if God is sending ElYah, what he's telling us is that he is going to eviscerate once again and condemn religion and politics, and anybody who is religious or political is not going to survive him. That's what he's telling us. And oh, by the way, he's telling us one other thing. What's God's name?
Yahweh.
Yahweh. That's why his name is ElYah. God is Yahweh. So there are a lot of things going on with sending ElYah. And he calls ElYah the prophet. It's interesting. What book did ElYah write?
None.
Anything.
He didn't write any book, did he? Are you aware of any prophecies that ElYah made?
That Jezebel would die. That was the only one.
Which one?
How Jezebel would die.
Yeah, but you can't call that I understand that is technically the one prophecy that he has ascribed. But my view on prophecy is if something happens before the ink dries on your prophecy, it doesn't count because you have no way to prove that it was actually a prophecy, right? I think there is one. And I think the one that
the Adamah Parah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
the
Every
whole
aspect of the story of add more water. I want Toba tossed into that fire. I want lots of cedar in that fire. I want that to be a bull, and I want the bull chopped into lots of different pieces. And then while we're doing that, we're going to have Yahweh himself ignite the fire. And this is going to prove that religions and politicians, they're fake. ElYah is going to orchestrate the exact same event on Taruw'ah. That's the prophecy. It's going to play out exactly the same way. All the same elements. So I think he can only be called a prophet if he fulfilled the office of a prophet. And in this case, he fulfilled the office of prophet. We have a Wookiee that wants back up here. He doesn't know that there's nothing here except, he's going to have a little of my iced tea. Who knows that I needed any iced tea left anyway. At least it's not cappuccino. It's not going to keep him up all night.
The Wookachino.
Yeah, Puppuccino. So he has a prophecy, and it's a very detailed prophecy, and literally every aspect of that prophecy is going to happen again on Taruw'ah. And that's something I don't think anyone has put those things together, that he is the prophet of the Adamah Parah, which is the reason God is bringing him back. It's not just to excoriate religion and politics. It's because he is the only person who has experience being a master of ceremonies over the sacrifice of a bull to rid the world of the consequence of religion and politics. And that is the seminal act of the Great Day of Yahowah. So God doesn't want the single most important display of his desire to purge his people once and for all of religion and politics. He doesn't want to leave that up to an amateur. Now, in my case,
I heard you voice my ego.
oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. And whoops. and in my case, I get mauled, and you don't have to have a great deal of experience to get mauled. One time I'll probably do it. Now, the kidding aside, after being mauled, I'm turned into a sword of light, and I take out all of the. I'm actually the means that will be used to rid the world of the religious and political. And for that, you do have to have some prior preparation and prior training, because you need to do that responsibly. And so that's why he's been chosen. He is the person who's going to perform in that way. So
yeah, and it's interesting.
It's
interesting that you.
He's both. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
He's both a witness and a prophet. I could think of someone else who also fulfills those two roles.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to be partners in that way. Now on Taruw'ah, he gets the long stick, and I get the short stick on Taruw'ah. But I get to have my wife there and my friends, and so it's a time that I'm familiar with and everything else. So I get some advantage too. So it's fair, I guess. Anyway, he says, "So behold, I myself will send you ElYah the prophet before the coming arrival, so la pane bo, of the exceedingly important, the Gadol." You ever heard the place where Gadol was used before? Is there a Gadol around here anywhere?
Luminary.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, so the top dog luminary, he is a Gadol, representing the brilliance of the sun, because he is the sun. He is Dode. And so it says before the arrival of Dode, and before the arrival of the great and exceedingly important. And he goes on, it's beyond just the Gadol day. It is the Yare day too, and the awesomely inspiring day of Yahowah. So you know what the great and inspiring day of Yahowah is? I mean, you've got pick a day. What would you think is a day that God's going to say, of all days, this is the greatest day ever? And it isn't Pesach, it isn't Matzah, and it isn't B'Kodim, and we can talk about why it isn't those three. I mean, watching your beloved son get crucified and then making a trip into hell, yeah, it's not all that much fun. And on top of that, the world yawned, paid no attention. And Yahowah wasn't there at the time. He sent mom and dad, his typical team, to watch over and support his son. So that's clearly not the great day of Yahowah. Yahowah's not, God said it needed to happen. He's proud of his son for doing it. That's a personal day in terms of just Yahowah saying, my son now has completely lived up to his calling and his purpose. But it's not the great day of Yahowah. Mm-hmm. Now on Shabuah, we know that most people will have no idea where those people went. Certainly not going to be the great day of Yahowah. Now you think that Sukkah would be the great day of Yahowah? You've got Chag Sukkah, open the gates back to re-entry into to Eden. If that's the great day of Yahowah, why didn't he tell us what's going to happen on it?
That's the reward day. No, that's not the great day of Yahowah. Yeah.
In fact, that's actually starting all over. We're going to go back to work again. The first time in the garden didn't work out very well, so we're going to give you a new chance on the garden. So that's kind of going back to work day. So for a long time, I thought it would have been Yom Kippurim. That's the day Yahowah returns with Dode. It's the family reunion. It's the great homecoming. It's going to be a wedding, maybe even two weddings on that day. Pretty magnificent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you put it all together and you see it presented in context, there's only one day left.
Yes.
And if we were to just describe all the things that are going to go on that day, it would take hours and hours. But he just introduced a fellow, didn't he? ElYah, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And he called ElYah a prophet, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And ElYah has one prophecy, which is the ridding the Israel of religion and politics by the sacrifice of a bull. So what day does that bull get sacrificed?
September 23rd, 24th, 2033, Yom Taruw'ah.
That is correct. So we have another affirmation that Yom Taruw'ah is the great day of Yahowah. Now, a lot of things are going to happen. Yeah, as we said, Yahweh doesn't like people very much. On Taruw'ah, the world is going to find that everyone who has not been supportive of Yahweh, not taken advantage of this, is going to be gone. And you're going to find that the earth is transformed back into the conditions found in Eden. And you're going to have the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah. And you're going to have copious waters released from underneath the Temple Mount that's going to purge people, the fire that's going to be an eternal flame. You're going to have the night before the great gathering of the olives, that final harvest of Yisraelites. It's going to be an extraordinary day. So that's the great day of Yahowah, and that is what ElYah is being brought for. And it says, then he will restore the thinking and the inclinations of the fathers for the children. I think Yahowah wrote something in stone, if I can recall it, about, let's say it's the second statement on that first tablet. Fathers condemn and corrupt their children to the third and fourth generation. ElYah is going to stop that, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They're no longer going to corrupt their children. So we have the remedy to number 2, which means since number 2 on that first tablet was don't be religious, guess what we also have a confirmation of? No more religion.
Mm-hmm.
So then he will restore the thinking and the inclinations of the fathers for the children, and the thinking and inclinations of the children to their fathers.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, it is likely that this is now talking about the second statement on the second tablet. Because while fathers will no longer be corrupting children, which means there will be no more religious fathers around, it is still a father and mother who, in the second statement on the second tablet, are specifically responsible for elongating one's life, not making it eternal, elongating it. And it's done by the Adamah, according to God's, what he etched in stone. Now, in this case, you have to transliterate Adamah. You can't translate it, because if you were to translate it, you'd say that your life is going to be elongated in the bloody red dirt. So methinks it's not a translation, it is a transliteration. It's going to be elongated because of the Adamah, is how it is to be understood. And so I think that is going to be what folks are going to be focused on it. And fathers is an interesting term here. And when I translated this for this, I should have been more aware of it. But the plural of fathers, Mike, what makes the plural of fathers unique?
It's abot. It's a irregular plural ending.
Well, yeah,
It's
and
abot.
irregular in what?
It has the female oat
Yeah,
ending.
you're right. So if you took a masculine father and you gave it a feminine plural, might that be parents?
Complete.
It might be. My original interpretation was Yahweh's our real father and our earthly fathers.
Yeah, but you can't have it be Yahweh in the plural.
True.
So now you're back to parents. And there are some parents that have a masculine noun with the feminine ending. Like, for example, the Adamah Parah would fall into that category. It's just interesting thought as to who these parents are, and maybe it's the parents that he's talking about in the second statement on the second tablet. It says, or otherwise I will arrive and inflict and then destroy the earth. So no pressure here. Succeed or the earth goes poof.
A little bit of pressure.
Yeah. So when we talk about how important the events are on Taruw'ah, where we need God to find susceptible and acceptable people to bring into Jerusalem from around the world, and to carry out the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah so that he achieves the proper result. Because I'm here to tell you that simply being bludgeoned, having a body bludgeoned, doesn't do anything for anybody unless God's going to do something because of it. Right. You pour out the blood on the earth, and it is for the benefit of a soul. So he is going to use it to purge the souls. And so he's saying that if we don't pull that off, that's it for humanity. There would be no mortal remnant, and with no mortal remnant, there's no homecoming. Without homecoming, there's no return to the garden. There's no purpose of the earth. His son does not have a kingdom, so he can't come back as king. And it's all for naught, and the earth just gets blown away. God has no reason to continue any of it. Now, fortunately, we've read the prophets, and we know the outcome of all of this, and it turns out exactly as God had planned. But that is the consequence, that inflict and destroy the earth because it is so disfigured and doomed. God's looking at it and saying, it's far worse than it was during the Nephilim period, where the people had become evil all of the time. He says this is even worse than that. And when he's
that was
talking
just
about
one region, that was one region, one area. This is the whole Teba,
the whole planet, the whole planet. And he says in Mow'edym in the 29th chapter, the world reverts to the conditions in Sodom. And that's the conditions when he sends his Nakar back. And he says, this is going to end up in fire and brimstone. So it could be a nuclear holocaust, or it could be a symbol of the Nakar turning into a flaming sword. Anyway, that was Malachi 4:6. So this is revealing on many levels. Yahweh is announcing that ElYah will advocate a return to the Torah, not a New Testament or a Talmud. So you can't be a fan of ElYah unless you realize he's anti-religious and he's pro-Torah. ElYah is positioned as a Nabi prophet, not as a witness here. And his lone prophecy was the sacrifice of the bull, symbolic of the Adamah Parah. He's going to be the master of ceremonies for that. He is also returning to Israel, not to America, not to Europe, not to Arabia. He's coming back to Israel. That means that God never gave up on his people. He is arriving prior to the Great Day of Yahowah, which means that his attention will be directed towards the events of Yom Taruw'ah, the day of the Herald in year 6000 Yah 2033, which is when the Adamah Parah will be sacrificed to fulfill the Mow'edym. And he is coming from Yahowah, which means that his soul has been in Mow'edym, and that it will be placed within a corporeal body, fully grown as a man at that time. So this is interesting because he said specifically that ElYah is coming back. ElYah has not had a body in Mow'edym for 2,888 years. So it's ElYah's soul that has been in Mow'edym, and he didn't say that it is ElYah's soul that is returning. It's going to look like a great big ball of fire. Therefore, and he's obviously not going to bring ElYah back as a prophet, as a baby. So he's not going to be coming from a mommy womb. So God has to have the capability of taking a soul that's with him in Shamayim and inserting that soul into a physical body. Now, if he can do that for ElYah, so if he can take a man in the midst of his life and bring him to Shamayim and then return that individual, put him in a different body 2,888 years later, then there should be no limit or any concern about Yahweh doing it with others and often.
Mm-hmm.
So it affirms the idea of having certain souls deployed because they can be counted on to do the job well. Also, if not for this return to the Torah and change away from the religious corruptions of sons by their fathers, Yahweh states emphatically that he would destroy the earth. It's too corrupt. So, should we fail? So does humanity. You just think you'd have more people rooting for you than rooting against you. But what are you going to say? People, right? There you go. There is, there's no doubt that ElYah will be dispatched prior to the fulfillment of Taruw'ah in 2033. In fact, he's going to arrive on Passover, Pesach, the day of Pesach, not the evening of it, April 18th of 2030. I do not see him obviously representing the tree of lives or knowledge. He's not being presented here as a tree. There's no reference to him being a tree. So that presentation that was in Zechariah 4, we have the two olive trees on either side of a menorah. He's not one of those. So they're not depicting the two witnesses with ElYah being one of the two witnesses because he's not a tree. Never presented as such. But two of God's routinely deployed players are trees, one of lives and one of knowledge. Now, ElYah did not provide even a fraction of 1% of the prophecies or instructions conveyed by the aforementioned Moshe or by Dode. Certainly not wasn't as prolific as Shamuel, Yirmiah, or most certainly not Yasha'yah either. And he didn't write anything versus Yada writing 30,000 pages. So the man's being brought back for another reason, and that's his experience being sarcastic when impugning the religious and political while sacrificing a bull. Now, having written nothing, obviously he was not a tree of knowledge. Having sacrificed nothing, he was not the tree of lives. And with no prior correlation between ElYah and the Mow'edym, he isn't one of the two luminaries. He is a man who has experience doing something that is essential to God because this is the single most important day in human history for God. And he wants to trust the master of ceremonies to do the job well. And he knows he can trust ElYah to do that. And it's ElYah's prophecy. So ElYah had something that we do not see in the other prophets, and that was that he was sarcastic. He did not have a tail that does that, but it is warm. So thank you for the fan, Wookie. I get no respect here. Rodney Dangerfield getting slapped in the face with, but it is a nice tail as tails go. Yeah. So ElYah was sarcastic. He was quick-witted. He was exceedingly judgmental. If somebody were to try to crash his parade and take the attention away from what is happening, ElYah's got the comeback. That is for sure. He's always ready and willing to trash the reputations of the religious and political, and no one was more devoted to exposing and condemning the Israeli establishment. I don't care who they bring against him. They are not going to prevail in a debate against ElYah. I mean, ElYah wins just because he's ElYah. I mean, you're ElYah. You've come back after 2,888 years. You win by default. I mean, it's You know, come
serious street cred. Serious
That's,
street
well,
cred.
that is serious street cred right there. So that,
Craig,
that has some-
I think you're being provided with cow insurance right there.
yeah, you are.
And in addition to what ElYah does, he also ends up being sacrificed at the end.
Mm-hmm. He does. He provides
After he does his job as a prophet.
Yeah. And it's interesting that the blood of the bull does what the bull has always done. It restores any issues in the relationship between Dod and Yahowah, because the bull's blood on the mercy seat on Yom Kippurim is to restore the priest, because Aaron was such a scumball that had to restore his relationship before he could even approach to do anything else and restore Israel's relationship. So the bull's blood affirms that Dod's relationship has been fully restored with Yahowah, and then it is the goat's blood, ElYah, that is shed to restore the relationship with the remaining Israelites. So that's it's kind of a nice touch. So he gets to do that, and he'll love that, because it's a way to get rid of a physical body and go back to a spiritual body of light. They're a lot more fun. So we have the fact that he was foremost expert at exposing and condemning religion and politics in Israel, and based as it was on Babel and still is. Further, he with the Babylonian Talmud. Further, he practiced having rehearsed the job, because he orchestrated the sacrifice of the bull that gave Israel the opportunity to come clean and to choose Yahowah 2,888 years ago. I even think that's interesting, because, of course, it's 20 Yobel and then 3/8 for infinity. Therefore, he will serve as the master of ceremonies during the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah and Taruw'ah. So God recognizes the merit of mocking a society's religious and political leadership, openly and bluntly exposing and condemning them. And he is fond of those who are not afraid to stand up. And ElYah was willing to do that. And he is going to need to stand up against the rich and the powerful. I'm not going to bother ElYah one iota. Also, Yahowah loves foreshadowing important events, and fewer is vital as what would happen again in this case. And it's a beautiful foreshadowing. Also, one of the things that's interesting about ElYah is that he specifically summoned the demonic king to this event. And on Taruw'ah, he has to summon Satan incarnate. So he is reprising that aspect of what he is doing as well. Wookiee doesn't know if he wants to be down, up, or whatever, but nonetheless, I've lost my fan. Perry, though, has a fan now. So with ElYah being chosen to speak as a prophet to Israel in the years before Yahweh's arrival, his partner will obviously share many of the same traits, but they shouldn't overlap. In other words, his partner needs to be more up to speed with things that didn't even exist in ElYah's day: Christianity, Islam, Marxism, for example. So they will have probably very similar personalities, but maybe, I can't even say similar personalities. ElYah was, apart from when he was orchestrating the sacrifice of the bull and confronting the religious establishment, he did a lot of running. He went off and was isolated from Israel for a very long time. And there were times where he did a Moshe thing too. He says, "Okay, God, this is way too much. I can't keep this up. Why don't you just kill me?" So he and the bull are not exactly the same in that regard. They just both are sarcastic, fairly quick-witted, and both anti-religious and anti-political. So in this case, I think that his partner is going to be more in tune with the challenges of the false notions of Christianity, Islam, Marxism, and of course, MAGAs. A lot has gone wrong since the showdown of ElYah and the prophets of the Lord and the Queen of Heaven. And since we're making these comparisons, the man similar to ElYah in the sense of having been taken to heaven by God to be redeployed is Chinook. Now, recognizing that the Choter is a sucker, that sounds like a pejorative, but from God's point of view, that's a good thing. A sucker is something that gives a fallen tree or old roots new life, and a sucker in things like olives is highly productive. So it growing out of the old rootstock of an old olive tree, giving this tree new life, it's rather obvious that he represents one of the two trees besides the menorah in Zechariah's example, particularly since the Choter is called a tree. Standing beside God's luminary, the deeply rooted and productive tree will be discussing Yahweh's symbols and using them to reveal God's intents. He's going to be very comfortable standing next to a menorah. Also, in that we learned that the Choter is the Malach, conveying Yahweh's message to his people in the end. It is interesting to see that a Malach is conveying this message to us through Zechariah and that presentation. We only went to Malachi to demonstrate that Malachi is going to be there as one of the two witnesses, a prophet, but Malachi is not one of the two trees on that symbolism. And the reason that the Malach kept on probing Zechariah and says, why don't you understand this? Come on, man, you're a prophet of Yahweh. I've shown you two trees standing beside a menorah. How is it you don't know who these trees are? Why do I have to keep asking you? Why you keep asking me who are these trees? Because it should have been obvious. You know, Yahweh has two Maoreth and two trees: the tree of knowledge and the tree of lives. One is Gadol, the other is Katan. It should have been obvious, and Yasha'yah, Isaiah, wrote all about this tree. So he should have known. But he didn't. And of course, this even began by, the memorable men of God and the story of the Towrah. So I'm of the conclusion at this point in our journey approaching the development of the witnesses that the Malach revealing the vision to Zechariah was actually addressing the trees and Yahweh's story and not witnesses. It's Dod and Yada, who are the only individuals referred to as branches and stems, but who also represent the tree of lives and knowledge in the garden. And of this we can be certain because Yada is the Choter, and given the spirits of Etzah, which is the complete story of the tree, and Diath, which means knowledge. So he is the full embodiment of the tree of knowledge. So that makes him the obvious choice for the Etz, Diath, and the Gan, which means that Zechariah should have figured that out too. Now, this does not rob ElYah of anything. They have the status of being returned as a prophet and as the great goat to serve as one of the two witnesses, joining Chinook, who is Yada, is tall cotton. He's going to come in with major street cred, as you've said. It just suggests that the only way for Zechariah to have had any chance of recognizing them would have been for him to have read the first and second chapters of the Towrah and done what we do. Every time that we read, okay, there's a greater and lesser luminary, they're both great according to God, they both serve as signs fulfilling the Mow'edym. Okay, so who are these guys and why is it presented on the fourth day? You just have to ask all the why questions until you get the answers to all of those why questions. And then what's the story with those two trees? Why does the tree of knowledge get so much attention in the garden? Why? And then why is the Choter named after the tree of knowledge? Why? Why is everything pertaining to Choter a tree? You just have to. You've got to have the want to know, and that's the whole process here. Is that you read something and you're not content to do what no one else has done before, which is to translate it accurately. You're not satisfied until you understand it. And that's what we're talking about here. So Zechariah would have had to read those stories, and then he would have to put them together with what we read in the 10th, 11th, 40th, 62nd, and 63rd chapters of Isaiah. The 10th and 11th we're going to go to here briefly, maybe in another family hour, but we're going to get to it. 10, which is the preamble to the presentation of the Choter, actually explains the environment that the Choter is being brought into and what he's going to accomplish. And then, 40 is the voice that calls out into the wilderness, and 62 and 63 are the story of the man from Edom that saves many, and the life and times that he's going to endure, how he's going to be deployed, when he's going to be deployed, what he's going to achieve, is 62 and 63. Zechariah was right around 500 BCE. Yasha'yah wrote around 725, 750 BCE. He could have read, should have read, had read Isaiah, and had read, should have read the Torah, and you put first two chapters of the Torah together with these chapters of Isaiah, and you have your answer.
Well,
make
Craig,
the connections to understand.
You should have known that the Choter is a redeemer and has to redeem the kinsman redeemer, and that, as you mentioned and translated so beautifully recently in Yasha'yah 34 and part of 35, as a liberator, and and Gaal, and the Gur, as the another hint of the foreigner who achieves the same, the same objectives in order to activate the tree of Etz HaChaim. Without Etz HaDayat, there's no Etz HaChaim.
That's correct. I think in Zechariah's defense, he's a very bright man, because we've read other insights that he has. He's very articulate, wonderful vocabulary, and God chose to speak through him. So this is an extraordinary man, knows and loves Yahweh.
Without a doubt.
And yet he did not recognize these things. And of course, he was literate in the Torah. He would have been literate also in the prophet Yasha'yah. He would have adored Yasha'yah. So what was the reason that he didn't see this? And that we have today? Because it wasn't time. Things get revealed and made known when it's time to make them known. It would not have done him any good at all. And even though the answer was given to him, the fact is that this was something that needed to be revealed and explained at the time that it was going to do people some good to know who these people are.
Well, and a lot of things are that way. They're not nearly as overt as Daniel, right? Daniel, I mean, it's pretty clear. Hey, seal this up. Nobody's going to understand it until it's unsealed, right? For that time. But there are many. Once again, we're looking back to Bamidbar and Hanakri, okay, and Chronicles, right? Hanakri. It's been there the whole time, and no one's ever looked at it through that lens.
Correct.
Yeah,
no one's ever
it's hot.
Together to understand, and maybe the reason was that everybody has a different role. Zechariah's role was to deliver the message that he was receiving. Our purpose is to explain it. and to share it so that people can capitalize on it because the message was for our time. And you look at Yasha'yah, it doesn't say that the message is going to be sealed, but no one has understood much of Zechariah. You've got every prophecy in Zechariah, or Yasha'yah, every prophecy in Yasha'yah is misappropriated. And finally we get to the most important prophecy and Yirmiyah, which is in the 31st chapter, and it's talking about the reaffirmation of the covenant. And we're the first to actually understand that. And the way that it ends up, it says, of course, you're the ones to understand it because the prophecy was about the Gadol and the Katan.
Right.
But no one ever saw that. I don't know how you'd miss it, but we missed it for a while. I guess that's the answer, is you have to be prepared to see it.
Well, and the other thing is, you're not the tree of prophecy, right? You're not the tree of what comes next. No, you're the tree of knowledge. Let me explain what all this other stuff is too. Right. So
right. Yeah. And Dayath is two things. It is knowledge, but it is also understanding. Dayath is based upon the verb yada, and it is comprehension. So you can render Dayath as knowledge or understanding. You can render it as comprehension, or you can verbalize it in the sense it's processing information effectively so as to deduce an intelligent conclusion. It's to be discriminating, to be discerning in that kind of way. So since we have concluded that Zechariah 4 pertains to the trees and not to the witnesses, once we have completed our review of this material, I'm going to expose the identity of the other witness based upon the prophecies that are presented in Yasha'yah 40, 62, and 63, of course, as well as Isaiah 10 and 11. But for now, let's stay on the hunt and see what more we can glean from this meeting with the Malach. We're going to be back in Zechariah 4. We jumped into this because this is the entree to something that Kevin wanted us to share as part of this show, but we had already covered considerable portions of Zechariah prior to this time. So it says, "So then I responded," this is Zechariah, "by saying to the spiritual messenger, the Malach, who had spoken to me, to ask, 'Why are these here, sir?'" So, dear Malach, you're showing me these things. I still don't get it. Why are they here? That is, remember Yah 4:4. And the heavenly representative who had spoken with me answered, and he said to me, "Why don't you know Yada or understand? Why are you unaware of what is being revealed so that you can appreciate and acknowledge what these represent?" Now, he's not trying to embarrass Zechariah. Zechariah is a good guy. What he's trying to do is ask a question that will linger throughout time. Why is it you don't know? Why is it, Israel, that you don't know who the Choter is? Why don't you know who the trees are in the garden? Why don't you know who the Mayoreth are? Why don't you know these things? They're knowable. They can be discerned. Why don't you know them? I think that's what he's asking. It's
Guilt.
a question that lingers throughout
Jewish
time.
guilt.
Jewish
It
guilt.
is. That's what.
One of the great
That's
food
what
groups.
Leah always. Yeah. That's exactly what this is. It's guilting. It's guilting the Yehud. Why don't you know this? Why don't you know this? It's
Yeah. And he's asking an extremely bright man who is inspired by God. Now, what that also says is that being a prophet is a wonderful title and it's a nice job. But being a prophet isn't necessarily the highest calling. Because as a prophet, you know what God said and you communicated what God says. It does not mean you understand what God said. And there is something far more powerful than knowing, understanding. So this is also a something that tells you that something I've talked about a lot. When we read the Torah and somebody says, boy, I would have loved to have been there to hear God's voice. That made such a difference. If I had witnessed some of the miracles, then I would really know. And I said, you have a better vantage point than any of them had. You not only can read all of this and hear exactly and visualize everything that happened, but you can then take the time to say, no, I really want to understand, why did he say those words exactly that way? You can take the time and make connections to other things that God has said so you can understand it. You can go forward in time from that time to understand what the prophets had to say about these events. We're in a much better position to understand than anybody that was there. So when a prophet reveals this is a conversation he's having with a malach or with God, our position is better than the prophet's position. He's hearing it, we're reading it. It's much better to read it than it is to hear it intellectually. So that's part of what's being conveyed here, is that God wants more from us than to simply know. He wants us to understand, and understanding is more powerful than knowing. And so in this case, being a prophet is a wonderful job, but there is something more valuable than being a prophet. And that is somebody that understands and then can share what they've come to comprehend as insights that do value for people. So they can say, all right, yeah, I know who those trees are. I know what that menorah represents. I know exactly what this is all about, and I know why it's important to you at this time. And so I'm going to tell you the story. Get comfortable, and we'll go through this.
You've been selected and have been imbued with the ruach of Binah.
Yeah, and it becomes pretty obvious, because if you look at the things that the prophets previously have conveyed, they said, oh, by the way, God said this, and this is what it means. And this is how it applies to your life. This is when it's going to happen, and this is what you need to do if you want to capitalize upon it. If you were to sum all of that up, you could fill a thimble with it. And yet, if you look at what we have done in these 40 books over 25 years in terms of insights, conclusions, timeline, who are the players, what have they achieved, how can you benefit from this? And here's the proof and evidence that would lead you from where you are to where you need to be to capitalize on this. You damn near fill an entire library. So that doesn't happen unless God wants it to happen and helps it to happen. So why don't you understand or know that, or understand? Why are you so unaware of what is being revealed here and what these represent? I said, I just don't know, sir. Well, you got to appreciate the honesty. It is the same question, however, that Yahweh is asking his people today. Why are Jews so resistant to recognizing and accepting God's chosen malach messenger? Why don't they know who Yada is? Why are they so oblivious about the correlation between the two Me'oreth? Why don't they know the nature of those two etzim trees, their relationship to one another? Why don't they correlate any of this to the menorah, particularly since the luminaries fulfill the Mow'edym, and there's 7 and 7? I do have, a answer to this conundrum. Much of what the prophets revealed was on a need-to-know basis. God does not toss pearls before swine and sees no value in explaining things which would have no value to the audience at the time. For example, while appreciating the interplay between the luminaries and the trees and recognizing that they are Dod and Yada, it's a nice adjunct to our understanding. But what value would that have been a millennia ago? and now on the cusp of the remnant's return to the garden, well, it's essential. Similarly, identifying the primary witness set aside, ElYah, the prophet, has gone from a mere fascination to vital to Israel's survival. Now you can say, if ElYah doesn't do his thing and do it well, the planet's gone. So now you need to know, who's that other witness? Are there really two? And we will prove that there are two. And one of them is accompanied by a team of people. That is one of the most beautiful things about this whole thing, is that one comes with a team. He has a family. And God's pretty clear about what everybody does and what their responsibilities are during this last period of time. And it is all based just cause a remnant to survive. Properly identifying Rahab as Trump was neither possible nor beneficial prior to the last couple of years. Wouldn't have helped anybody. Now it does. So further insights build on themselves. The more we know and understand Yahweh's plans, and the people behind them, the more adroit are prolific are our connections. We can go from an interesting insight to thousands of them. And just as trees grow from a seed and then mature before they bear fruit, we have to establish roots, branch out, and leaf before flowers bloom and fruit emerges. Same process. I like the fact you guys are sitting in the midst of a whole bunch of trees. That looks like a tapestry as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's another one.
It is. Yeah, you went from the library to the tapestry of the trees. It's really, and the way that it takes the light is really it's really beautiful.
It's actually a light behind it too.
You put a light behind it to brighten it up.
Yeah.
The water looks brilliant.
See how it glows.
The water is absolutely gorgeous in it. Isn't that pretty? Yeah, there's the trees in the garden.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. So the very depiction of a tree is the same thing here. It's got to grow up, mature, branch out, leaf out, and then blossom. And that blossom has to mature into fruit before it has anything to offer. But once a tree matures, it can produce fruit faster and faster. It can produce fruit as fast as somebody can process it. Now, in this case, Moshe announced that these prophecies regarding the trees, so he's the one that made those prophecies. So why not listen to his cold voice? After all, God is trying to do something wonderful through them to reacquaint Yehudam and Yisra'el with Yahowah. And the one being deployed on behalf of the other is asking nothing in return. I've been doing this for 25 years of research and writing, and he's just trying to reflect the sun's light so that you are directed to the tree of lives and can capitalize on that. And we've made it exceedingly convenient for everybody at yadayah.com. And, there's the whole Yahowah library. The books now talk to you. They turn the pages. The marvelous presentation of all of this that Joe has created for us. And then you have all of the fun faces and the people that are part of the covenant family on that family page. It's marvelous. And the timelines, so you know exactly where you are, and the Yahowah vlog where we talk about all these different subjects. But the value of the site is that library, the books of knowledge, the Yahowah series. So please, Israel, come to Yada. Appreciate why he was sent to you. Now, additional answers regarding the composition of the trees are provided in the 14th Mashal proverb, because it is the first time the Choter is actually introduced. He's introduced in the 14th Mashal several hundred years before Isaiah actually writes about him. Now, that's the same thing as Solomon giving the story of the Nakri. Why he didn't have to explain who he is, because Moshe already did. And it does identify the Choter as the tree of knowledge, even in that 14th Mashal. And it even identifies him as Yada. And it is the first and only time that Choter is mentioned, other than when we read in Yasha'yah, the 11th chapter. Therefore, since the spiritual messenger was already duly impressed with Zechariah's previous session, which was recorded, where he came to the conclusion that there would be a new turban and new linen garments for the priest to wear, because it'd be a new priest. And it was from that we were able to deduce that Dod is coming back as the high priest, because he's already performed that role when bringing the Arown Beryth into Jerusalem, and he was wearing the ephod of the high priest and dancing. That, yeah, he's the guy that's going to be the high priest, that's going to anoint the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant. We deduce that because of comments that Zechariah made. So we know he's a smart man. I'm pretty up on my Torah, and I would not have put it together had he not laid it out that way. So we know that he's considered exceedingly smart. And knowing this was written some 500 years. Excuse me 1 second. Try to get my dog's attention. I threw a chew toy at her. She's biting her nails again. So we know that there was a significant difference between the time that this was written and the time that the Choter was introduced in the Mashal. It was 5 centuries. So he should have known that as well. Now, this, knowing it, by the way, and making the connections are two different things. This summation of the word picture painted by Yada 3,000 years ago will be fully amplified, and we're going to go back through it. And later, in fact, this very book that we're previewing here. So right now, I'm just going to give a kind of a high-level overview of what is said in the 14th Mashal, pursuant to the Choter being Yada and being a tree that is the connection that the Malak was hoping Zechariah was going to make. It says, "He who walks with integrity in what he knows to be right, credible, honest, and never wavering, respects and reveres Yahweh. But the devious one, having departed by misleading others along an errant path, disregards and shows contempt for him." I wonder what that's talking about. "Against the mouths and the pronouncements of the foolishly stupid, the belligerently stubborn, and irrationally corrupt, these simpletons who beguile a group of idiots, a Choter, the rod of divine justice, the stem off the main branch, a productive sucker from the fallen stump. He's going to rise, and he's going to roar majestically from the surging waters, triumphantly opposing and agitating, to become an esteemed and excellent counterbalance, an effective influence, performing, from God's view, magnificently on behalf of the Almighty." It's Ga'ah. And so the language of the one who learns, who comes to understand and then teaches, will focus on what he observes. That's Proverbs 14, 2 and 3. "Without the Choter, who is also the learned bull, there is no understanding of these essential events. And without understanding, there is no covenant family. There would be no purpose to the Taruw'ah harvest, either with and without the responsive bull doing his thing. He is the witness to what is forthright and true." So it says, without the ElYah, which is the learned and productive bull who increases 1,000-fold, the manger would be empty. And yet, a large, productive, and abundant Taruw'ah harvest will be derived and produced by the authority, capability, and empowerment, the overall effort of this shore. this thoughtful and responsive bull. 14:4. As a trustworthy and reliable ed, restoring witness to the eternal testimony, he will never intentionally communicate that which is not true. Didn't say he will never communicate something that's not true. He said never intentionally communicate something not true. There's a huge difference between those things, because God not expecting perfection. He doesn't even want perfection. He wants somebody that's willing to learn, and that if they make a mistake, it's an honest mistake, and they'll go back and correct the mistake and say, oh boy, here we are. This is so much better. So he will never intentionally communicate something that's untrue, and yet a false and misleading witness pours out a torrent of lies and delusions. 14:5. A scoffer seeks to convey expertise and erudition, but there is none in their case. Understanding based upon knowledge, diath, is not burdensome for the bien, the one who derives the proper connections to understand. Boy, this is leading right up to the other Choter presentation, isn't it? You should choose to walk away from the presence of the ignorant and the irrational, because otherwise you will not come to know or appreciate Yada's comprehension of the language, providing informed insights deduced from these words. 14:7. The capacity to understand and intelligently deduce insights by being discerning, chokmah, for the prudent and sensible comes by way of him making intelligent connections. However, the foolishness of corrupt leadership deceives and misleads the ignorant and the irrational. 14:8. Beguiled by corrupt leadership, those incapable of thinking judiciously, the simple-minded and those without overall understanding, mock in a derisive, arrogant, and scornful fashion, constantly boasting in their disrespect for the compensation provided to remove guilt by way of the atoning sacrifice. Alternatively, those who are right on the level and straightforward observe the connections between these things to come to understand the choices which lead to being approved and accepted. 14:9. The locus of judgment and inclination, motivation and inspiration, even emotion and disposition of Yada is cognizant of, concerned about, and acknowledges the conscious capacity of his soul to observe and respond to mora, bitterness and hostility, resentment and acrimony, rebellion and defiance, as well as experiencing genuine jubilation as a result of him overcoming adversity. He is largely alone, never influenced by others, while avoiding any association with the pledges and vows of those who are illegitimate and unauthorized. Mashal, word pictures, Proverbs now all the way to the 14th statement. So indeed, while recently supported by a devoted covenant family, Yada has long battled the religious and political alone. And they are acrimonious, they're acerbic, they're disrespectful and deceitful. The idiots outnumber the insightful 1,000,000 to 1. Now, as mentioned previously, the reason I have not amplified the word picture to the fullest extent or added significant commentary is because we're going to return to the 14th word picture in another chapter of this particular volume. All I wanted to achieve at this point is to identify the Choter as Yada, which we have done. We have also witnessed that he is up against and know that he's going to deliver, even though his back will be put up against the wall. Now, recognizing that Zechariah was a prophet and therefore well-informed, the Malach was holding him to a high standard with his response. And since Yahweh has already introduced the Choter and explained his role and shared his name through Yasha'yah and the Mashal, the spiritual messenger thought that he would have recognized the Choter as Yada, and that he was represented by the olive tree on one side of the menorah. As is Yahweh's style, the Malach representing him answered Zechariah directly and indirectly, providing him with the information that he would need to make the necessary connections to understand. So our attention is being directed to the Choter and also to the application of Yahweh's Ruach, such that the combination of those bear fruit. And so let's be clear. Those standing on either side of the menorah are the central players in God's story. That's why they're presented as such. They're not simply trees. Their lives speak out against Zerubabel, the lord of confabulation, as Satan's spawn, today known as Donald Trump. So this is how it reads. Then he answered, and he spoke to beast to say, this is the message of Yahweh against Zerubabel. What does Zerubabel mean? It is the nauseating seed of the Lord and confabulator, the confusion sown by Babel and resulting commingling. Boy, is that ever appropriate for today. It is to say, not by might, ability, or wealth, and not with the force of authority, but in actuality with my spirit, declares Yahweh of the vast array of spiritual messengers. This is going to happen because of the Spirit of Yahweh. And when you look at the application of the Spirit of Yahweh, there's only one man that gets 7 spirits of Yahweh, and it's the only time that the spirits are actually identified, providing these very necessary traits. Spirit of Yahweh, Spirit of Chakma, wisdom, Spirit of Bien, understanding, Spirit of Etzah, having the complete understanding of that tree of knowledge, the Spirit of Gabor, having the courage to see it through, the Spirit of Diath, which is knowledge and comprehension, thereby putting the Etz and the Diath together, held together with a little Gabora, fortitude. And all of this is to garner the spirit of respect.
You're on.
That's the Choter. So he says this is going to happen because of the Spirit of Yahweh. Now, since we're told by Yasha'yah that the Choter, rod of divine judgment and fruitful branch, would be the one imbued with the 7 Ruach, spirits of Yahweh, and that he would be emboldened and authorized to speak forcefully on God's behalf, he represents one of the 2 trees. Pretty obvious. Going one step further, Yada has, with Yahweh's explicit authorization, exposed and condemned the Lord of Babel's seed and spawn as never before, having written 13 volumes of goddamn religion, Twistianity, and Babel. Got that one covered. He was the first to identify Trump as Satan. Good there too. And he has done so without financial compensation from anybody or assistance from anyone in a position of authority. So Yada, as the Bashar, the Malach, the Zeroah, the Kol, and the Choter, he's the one that fits the billing as one of those 2 trees. Now, up to the point of the messenger's question, Zechariah had been shown a menorah and 2 olive trees, both of which, well, you can put the pieces together of God's story to understand, including the connections between them. Furthermore, his interjection of the priestly head wrap into the previous vision in the earlier chapter confirms that Zechariah knew his Torah. So we're dealing with a well-read, bright man who was likely chosen because he was a quick study. But let's open our eyes a bit wider. Observe what is established between the trees. The very menorah of Yahowah. And therefore, we should be making a connection to the Ma'oreth, the luminaries who fulfill the 7 Mow'edym. And what is it that the menorah burns? It's olive oil.
Olive oil.
Olive oil.
And the olive trees produce olives, which are what is harvested on Taruw'ah. And they have to be pressed to create the oil that is turned into light, which is what's going to happen to one of those trees on Taruw'ah. And clearly that's the great day of Yahowah. Clearly, Maor and Maorah are based upon the same compound of Ma, to ponder the implications of or, light. Essentially the same word. Dod is the branch, Yada is the stem. Dod opened the door to life. Yada revealed this knowledge in Yasha'yah. Further, they are presented as the 2 men who fulfill the Mow'edym, which are symbolic of each of the 7 lights on the menorah. They're the ones who present the path through the Mow'edym, by each one representing by a light. Before we reconsider the Malak's answer, remember, Zechariah is the same fellow who interjected himself into the previous narrative, telling the Malak to include the head wrap for the high priest when the high priest is replaced, so that you wouldn't have a fellow named Yosha was too soiled, too scummy to serve as the high priest. And so this is God's version of replacement theology. He's replacing the theology of Yeshua, of Jesus, with Dod, which is pretty delicious the way that whole prophecy works out. Yosha is too scummy, so I'm going to have my son, and it's going to be Dod. It's beautiful. So I know the Torah too, but I did not make that connection until after the Spirit pointed me to Korah for the answer. For Zechariah to have deduced this in the moment means he actually understood the intent of the vision. He would also have to have been sufficiently confident in his assessment that he would complete the scene while in Yahweh's presence. That takes some horsepower to say, okay, Yahweh's revealing something to me. I'm going to interject while Yahweh was telling a story, and I'm going to throw in my 2 cents. Hey, that takes some confidence. This suggests that our prophet is exceedingly well-informed and intelligent and has a personal character. Now, based upon his desire to follow Yahweh's words to their intended conclusion, Zechariah would have been familiar with Yasha'yah's prophetic presentation of the Choter, the secondary branch and productive sucker, with an entire chapter of that book focused on him and the role he would play. It's actually 2 chapters because 10 is the same subject. He would eventually play, the prophet would have understood that Yahweh intended to enlighten and empower, equip and embolden the Choter with his spirit, so that he could compose the Nesh banner that God would raise on that jumbotron over the 2 witnesses come Taruw'ah. By the way, everybody gets put to work on Taruw'ah, so be prepared. It's going to be a busy time. Good news is we'll have a couple of years of schooling up there with the big guys, so we'll come back plenty prepared. Therefore, he would have surmised that it would not have been by might, ability, or wealth, through armies, religion, or politics, and especially not through status or personal qualifications, that the Ruach's collaboration with the Choter would bring new life to a fallen olive tree. And this would be especially so in time for the final gleaning of olives on Yom Taruw'ah, which is an olive gleaning. 2 or 3 from the uppermost branch and 4 or 5 from the branches that have been cut away. Now, while Zerubabel is a name based upon the man's history, it speaks of the seed of Babylon. Like everything else associated with Satan in Zerubabel, there is a commingling of good and bad. On one hand, the word represents that which has been Zerah, sown, and scattered Bel, the Lord of Babylon. And indeed, Yahweh will deploy the two witnesses to call his people out of Babylon. But speaking of coming out of Babel, the man named Zerubabel came out in one way, but not so much in the other. He was appointed by Cyrus, the king of Babylon, to oversee Judah, upon the people's return from captivity. So he reported to a pagan king. And while he walked out of Babylon, he carried its influence with him. Further, with only one exception, he is always mentioned in the as part of the entourage of Yasha'yah, the high priest, whom Yahweh called perverted, and Zechariah 3. I have a view that I'm sure there's not many that are going to share, but it's still my view, and until shown otherwise, I'm going to hold that view, which is that Yahweh actually had no interest in the second temple being built, and that the books that talk about it being approved by Yahweh are not prophetic. They have no credentials. They're historical wish lists of saying, this person did this person did that. I don't think he wanted it. I think if God wanted his temple to remain on the Temple Mount, he would have prohibited the Babylonians from being able to take it down. And if he wanted one to be on the Temple Mount, he most certainly wouldn't have a scum like Herod rebuild it or let the Romans tear it down to make the Colosseum. There's just no reason for any of this. And there's no reason for the house of Yahowah while Israel was being religious. It served no purpose. And once the one that Dode bought the provisions for was placed on the summit of the mountain that Dode acquired, and Solomon built it in this as specified, there was no reason to do it again until Dode has the opportunity to rebuild it. So that's just my conclusion, and you're entitled to disagree and have a different view of it, but I just don't see the purpose of it, and I've never been fond of the books that cover this period. They look like historical portrayals, but not inspired prophetic ones. Anyway, in Ezra 3:2 and 3:8, we find Zerubbabel's name listed alongside Yosha ben Yosha-Sadak, and that's the one that's being impugned earlier in Zechariah, in concert with their journey out of Babylon, whereupon they commenced rebuilding the temple. His name is mentioned in Ezra 5:2 in the same context, and Nehemiah 12:1, we find a similar reference indicating there's nothing more than that he was among those who had come out of Babylon, including Yosha. And so, like MAGA and Trump, Zerubabel was a mix of religion and politics. That's how I view it. And Haggai, it gets a bit more interesting. Yes, Mike.
What was the purpose of the second temple? They didn't have the Ark of the Covenant.
I know. The Ark, they actually had it. They just didn't know where it was.
Well, right. But I mean,
yes,
the Ark of the Covenant wasn't in the second temple.
Correct. That's another one of my conclusions.
Well, what's the purpose?
That's right. You're not going to have God's presence there. You're not going to have the presence of the mercy seat there. You're not going to have anything that you can anoint on Yom Kippurim.
Right. Exactly.
What's the purpose?
What's the purpose?
Money.
Religious control.
Money, power, control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's interesting, Craig, that you mentioned this period. It corresponds from the Cyrus from around 570 BCE to second and third century CE, correlates with what's called the rabbinic period.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. Some evidence marshaled in your favor, but it corresponds with that. And it only got worse because at least the name Yahweh was still being used up until and around the time of building of the second temple, when it went completely dark, and it could only be mentioned by the high priests on their version of Yom Kippur.
Yeah, it's more you study it, the books that cover this period remind me of the Maccabees. You know, they're not inspired. They present an interesting history, but the history is there's a lot of infighting in it, and no commonality, no prophecy. So it sounds like I'm not alone in the conclusion that there was no purpose of the second temple. Anyway, Haggai, which is not a book that I've read through Haggai 8 or 9 times, just to say, is there anything here that you could say is prophetic, is inspired? And I haven't found it. So Haggai gets a bit more interesting because in 1:1, Zerubabel is introduced as the governor of Yehudah. Of course, he's a Babylonian, which is to say that he had been appointed by King Cyrus of Babylon. Then it is Yosha ben Yahusadak, the high priest in the previous revelation, who announces that Yahweh has decided at this time that he has come for the house of Yahweh to be rebuilt. Now, Yahweh's name is used throughout the book of Ezekiel, and it's as fake as as a $3 pink bill. So that doesn't impress me. And we know that the person who just made that statement, God said, is disgusting. So I'm just not buying it. Maybe God had a reason. Maybe he'll tell us what the reason is that we're missing here. But I certainly don't see it. And without the Arown Beryth, the Ark of the Covenant, what's the point? And by the way, it wasn't even built the same way.
No.
So why would God give you explicit directions if this is exactly the way I want it built, and then it's built differently if it's God who is orchestrating it?
The rabbis voted.
The rabbis voted. Yeah.
The Mishkan had like prophetic implications just from the dimensions.
Yes.
The Holy of Holies, what's called the Holy of Holies.
The most set apart.
1,000 cubic cubits, so that's like 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part was 2,000 cubic cubits, right? Yeah, it was 20 by 10 by 10, so it was 2,000. Represents 2,000 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the 2,000 years is the time
Dod's
between Dod fulfilling Pesach Matzah and Mow'edym, and us fulfilling Chag Sukkah with Taruw'ah, Kaporeth, and Sukkah. And the 1,000 years of the most set apart is when we all go back into the garden with Yahweh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So God as an architect is really good about this stuff. And the second temple wasn't built prophetically like that.
No.
Doesn't have his signature on it. So I just don't think it's true. The first two of the positive accolades follow, wherein the same assemblage of fellows, along with the entire remnant of the people, listen to the voice of Yahweh as conveyed through the words of Haggai the prophet. But how is Haggai a prophet if he doesn't have any prophecies? What we learned that Yahweh stirred up the spirit of Zerubabel, the governor of Yehudah, and the spirit of Yosha, the high priest, the spirit of the entire remnant of the people, and they came and they worked on the house of Yahweh. That's Haggai 1 to 12 through 14, with everything in Haggai is chapter 1. It's only one chapter. Concerning Yahweh's negative assessment of these guys in the previous prophecy, he was using them much like he had used Cyrus, if in fact that was his intent, or alternatively, the assessment would be that without prophecy, the paper thin testimony of Haggai was not inspired by Yahweh, and like Ezekiel, it falsely claims otherwise. I know that in doing this job now for 25 years and writing 30,000 pages and being absolutely in love with Yahweh's teaching and with prophecy, I have never had an inclination to go to any one of the books talking about that period. And other than here, I'm going to tell you this is what it says. You want to know who the player is, then I don't see any credibility to it. So I just don't think that his final narrative reads as follows, but I do not think it was inspired. So it's say to Zerubabel, which means the seed of Babel. That's a really bad name. The governor administering the district for the king that he was administering for happened to be a pagan king of Babylon, Cyrus, of Yehudah, saying, I will shake up the heavens and the earth. But God didn't. Not at that time. I will overthrow the thrones and kingdoms and the power of the kingdoms and the Gentile nations. I will overthrow the chariots and their riders, and their horses and their riders go down, everyone by the sword of another. No. When God finally overthrows political and religious man, it's not because they attack each other. God specifically provides a sword of light to take them out. So that's not prophetic. It didn't. That never happened. And it's not what God says is going to happen. So I'm not buying it. That's Haggai 2:2. I'm sorry, there's 2 chapters. On that day declares Yahweh of hosts, I will grasp hold of you, Zerubabel, son of Shealtiel. Shealtiel means I question God. Another great name, huh? Who has served my interest, declares Yahweh, and I will make you like a signet ring. Because the signet ring was the seal of denoting an official identification. Because I have chosen you, declares Yahweh, of the spiritual messengers. Haggai, my feast, 2:23. Now, this is problematic because there were no kingdoms overthrown by Zerubabel. Not by Israel either. Not in the centuries that followed him. And not even since that time. And it's not the way it's predicted to go forward, even after our time. The name is toxic, both names. And if Yahweh wanted a temple on the mount, he would have protected the one he designed with Dode and built by Solomon. He would have taken his Arown Beryth, Ark of the Covenant, out of hiding, so it would have a purpose, and it would be built on exactly the same footprint, and it wasn't. Further, if he wanted such a thing, the Romans would have been unable to destroy the replacement, and he certainly would not have had a person like Herod reshape the Temple Mount, put Roman structures on top of it, and rebuild the temple. He would not have done that. I mean, Herod was a scumbag. Nor would he have allowed the temple to be destroyed and to have its contents be used to build the Colosseum. Moreover, in Zechariah 2:6, Yahweh is opposed to Zerubbabel and not in favor of him, and says he's filthy scum. So the most positive spin that can be placed upon this is that Zerubbabel is similar to the king who had sent him. In Yasha'yah 45, God said that the arrogant and murderous pagan monarch, thus says Yahweh, to his anointed, to Cyrus, for the sake of my associate Jacob and Yisra'el, my chosen, I call you by name. I name you, though you do not know me. So Cyrus doesn't have a clue who Yahweh is. So Israel should be careful when this says the second coming of Cyrus. God says specifically, you don't have a clue who I am. I'm just using you. There is therefore the possibility that the seed of confusion was a tool to be used on behalf of Yisra'el, but we will not see either of these Babylonians in Shamaim, and one is clearly headed to Sheol based upon Yahweh's testimony. Therefore, just as Yahweh denounced Yosha and his entourage, his entire entourage, which included Zerubabel, and concluded his assessment of him by suggesting that he is the very insignia of Babylon that has necessitated the demise of modern incarnations, we are wise to see Zerubabel as the seed of confabulation. And well, we have no credibility because there's no prophecy that was fulfilled or will be fulfilled in Haggai. Zechariah's got prophetic credentials coming and going. So if he says the guy was a bum, the guy was a bum. So Yahweh used an ordinary man coupled with a strong and forceful hand to withdraw his people from Mitzrayim. But this mission is different. Babylon isn't so much a place of slavery, but a host of debilitating institutions and crippling beliefs. The approach to the end, while plagued by man, will be framed in the words of God and spoken by men of his choosing. Then, when the shouting is over, just as we read in the 14th Mashal, the foolish will die, such that those who are right may live. Now, speaking of those who respect the might of nations and their militaries over the Spirit of Yahweh, authority figures over inspiration, the spiritual messenger asks a leading question. But more than this, God is making a statement by contrasting his Gadol luminary to the confusing seeds of the Lord. They're at odds with each other, as we would expect. One is vital, the other is a contradiction in terms. And as for the Gadol, he is also the capstone of the covenant and of God's home. And it is in our interest to repudiate all of the worthless lies written by the religious about him. Where are you? The question is raised. Mount of the Gadol. I'm pretty sure I know where the Mount of the Gadol is because we know who the Gadol is. He is the greater of the two luminaries, and the mount would be Moriah. To the appearance of Zerubabel, the confusing seed sown by Babylon, a flat and upright place, he will withdraw the capstone amid falsified and vain shouts and worthless lies. Chin, show favoritism and kindness towards it. That's Zechariah 4:7. So whether it's political, religious, or geographic Babylon, there is a Capitol Hill in America, the Vatican above all in Rome, and claims to the Temple Mount amongst the Muslims. They all believe that they hold the high ground and that their claims are lofty and important. Well, not so much in God's eyes, because he is going to level them, all of them. It is what happens when a person who is standing against God dissolves into goo and Taruw'ah. They literally do. They're just going to become goo, liquefy. So those who have questioned what is agreeable and straightforward will be flatlined, reduced in dimension so that they only exist in time. And the capstone of Christianity, which is the New Testament, the cornerstone of Judaism is the Babylonian Talmud, and for Americans, it's their claims of superiority and manifest destiny, their self-appointed right to meddle in everyone else's lives. For Muslims, it is Allahu Akbar, the absurd notion that Allah is greater than what? A mouse, perhaps. Confronting them with the truth, the eyewitness will reduce them to rubble. But before Yahweh, the cornerstone is his firstborn. It's stowed. So even to their last breath, there will be Teshua, deceitful and destructive shouts, which are devastatingly ruinous, worthless, and falsified, clamoring to negate the things God has claimed of his son. But before it all, he will stand tall on the Mount of the Gabor. We're going to all be there. It'll be our home too. The Mount of the Gabor is of the greater luminary, and it's home on Moriah. And yet, yeah, we'll have Moriah on Moriah, and yet, and Russell too. And yet, even as the exemplar of man's most, well, we're going to get Mike there, but he's going to be fact checking to make sure all those stones are in the right place and that we're all positioned correctly. And Dr. Jeff will be writing down something that will be erudite to save for the occasion, as Rich makes sure that all of our microphones and speakers are properly projecting. And Perry will be calculating the possibilities that all of this was properly prophesied in advance, as Kevin makes sure that everybody in the covenant family is contributing as is appropriate. And so there we're going to be on the Temple Mount, and even as the exemplar of man's worst behavior will also be there, the preeminent beast is going to be there as well, the man that they think is the reincarnation of Cyrus, and that's going to be is the modern incarnation of Zerubabel, and that will be manifest through the greed and grift of one Donald J. for Genius Trump. I love that piece. What is the J for in your name? It's for genius. I put together a puzzle. I did it in 3 days, and it said right on the puzzle that it was for 4 to 5 years. I know. I was a genius.
Oh no.
J for
He actually said there was an award that he called the Genius Award, and that he named it after himself. He is the ultimate palm to the head sort of a guy. We'll end our program on this note. My eyes are beginning to run with the Sahara sand that kind of picks up during the day, and we can only go so long. Voice is beginning to wear out after 5 hours of vlogging today. So we'll say goodnight with this. Then the message of Yahweh with me to say, the hands of Zerubabel, the confounding seed of Babylon, had laid a base by conspiring together at that moment for the house. But his hands and influence will be cut off, and it will cease to exist based upon his actions. So it would be deadly to be associated and plundered by him, because he was greedy for unjust gain. Methinks that Zechariah had his number. You don't want a legitimate prophet to say that what you have done is going to be cut off because you were a greedy SOB. I'm just saying that's probably not a good thing.
No.
And therefore, you will know, Yada, that Yahweh of the spiritual messengers has sent me to you. So that's a good place for us to stop. You can trust somebody that was sent by Yahweh, but you don't want to be trusting the seed of Babel for anything. Why don't we choose a song? We've got two beauties there to end our show tonight. Do we want the concerto to the Bashar, or do we want people who antagonize people? What do you think? Rich, what's your call?
I'm going to call it concerto.
Oh, good. Okay. We got a concerto. Mariah is a concerto. We got two concertos.
Yeah.
Russell's concerto. Mike?
Yeah, let's do it.
I like people.
Okay. So we have three concertos. Three concertos and a people.
It's people's night. It's people's night. It's people's night.
Is people. So now it's 3-2.
She's so pretty.
Okay, what are you saying there, Dr. Jeff?
It's concerto all the way.
Oh.
What were you going? Oh, concerto. Okay. So now we have 4-2. Perry? 5-2. I am also concerto. It is 6-2. But the man that controls the
Can play whatever he wants.
he can play whatever he wants. We have,
Play Suka.
but in favor of the man is up there that can play whatever he wants. Well, we were sharing from the book and reading the place that he made a choice, and we went along with his choice of what to present, and we'll do the same thing next week. So we were pretty accommodating of Mr. Kevin up there. My guess is he will accept the favorable vote of the majority of family. Yes, Mike?
I just have a reminder, Towrah is coming up in 3 weeks.
Yes.
It's either September 11th or 12th, depending on whether you do observational or astronomical.
Yes. Getting prepared. We'll make certain we break out and do another show just on what's going to happen exactly in 7 years on Taruw'ah. So, yeah. I hadn't looked up exactly the date. So you're telling me which day of the week is it?
Friday or Saturday, depending on whether the 11th on Friday, the 12th is on Saturday.
Shabbat.
Yeah, really. I love observational.
Observational is the 12th, and astronomical is the 11th.
Okay. And do you know how much of the moon's? Well, it's a new moon, so
I can tell you, right? Friday, September 11th, visibility is 0.3653%.
It's under 1%. Yeah, it's under 1%.
Under 1.
But of course we're at a new moon here, so under 1%.
September 12th is 2.8097% visibility.
Right.
Yeah, I know what I'm going to do. It's 7 years before, and the one that matters starts on a Friday evening, right? And so we can legitimately start on a Friday evening, and we can mirror what's going to happen in 7 years, which begins with the gleaning on a Friday evening and the Great Day of Yahowah on the Saturday. I like the 11th.
Okay.
The Friday evening. Again, that's the nice thing about all of this too. You can use your own thinking and make your own judgment. And yes,
I just want to go out by the pool. I just want to go out by the pool and have fire and lots of water and stuff, right? And kind of do a reenact, So
ElYah wants a show
ElYah can blow
where
the show
we're all in do a slumber party. We're all in jammas for a show. I haven't had jammas since I was 5 years old.
Everyone knows.
Nevertheless, she wants a slumber party in jammas for a show. And this time of year, that pool is 90 degrees. And so we can do a show out there with the fire in the pool, and it could be a swimming show. You could all come and bring your bathing suit. We'll splash around in the water. That's we're all representing the sea, so water's a good thing. Okay, so your other point was,
if Taruw'ah is a compound word, it's based on ruah, right? But if the T comes from ta'ab, then it means to either long for something or to loathe something. So the rabbis loathe Taruw'ah, right? They replaced it with Rosh Hashanah.
And we long for it.
Yeah, and we long for it. We desire it. We long for it.
Yeah.
So Tab is the Strong's breaks it into two different numbers, but it's really spelled the same, and so it's got a light and dark side. So it's H8373 or H8374.
Yep. So we long for conveying the message and providing the good and bad news. We long for that witness, Taruw'ah, to convey that message, and they despise it.
Right. Yeah. They replaced it.
Yeah, they replaced it with Rosh Hashanah. So I like the 11th of next month, Friday, because we can replicate what's going to happen exactly 7 years. So we're 11 days away from it being exactly 7 years. I like that a lot. So we will celebrate that. And between now and then, hopefully we'll have, we can't lose on either one of these two. And they are, by the way, also just like Taruw'ah, there's a light and dark side. This is the dark side of people, although with a very pretty person telling us about these people. And then we have the guy that looks like the deer caught in the headlights on the other side by way of contrast. But it is an uplifting song about the job of the Bashar. So you can surprise us.
Does it matter that Leah voted people? Leah voted in the chat, and she voted people.
Yeah, that would have.
Does that matter?
No, because it's still that make it to what, 6-4?
6-3.
6-3.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, 6-3.
Okay.
So it looks like it's going to be the concerto.
I could switch.
In fact, you know what you could do?
You could
You
play
could-
them both, right?
You could follow concerto by people, and everybody wins. How about that? We're going to follow. We have to do in that order because people steals the crowd. Because
Yes.
when you have the really pretty girl in the pretty dress, and all of the Depot's graphics, you can't have that precede the one that's got no graphics, even with the music being powerful. So we'll do it in the right order. We'll have one or the other, and we'll get to listen together. Just as a reminder, while concerto is playing, our mics are all live, and we are on the screen. That is not the case when people plays.
Talking through the wreckage with silken words and witness-worn lips, pulling the truth from the tangled tongues of temples, tyrants, and tribal warlords. Not a throne nor a thunderbolt, no god in a borrowed disguise, just a man with a map of meaning and a match for manufactured lies. He found the name beneath the noise, the name religion had erased and nullified, took the dust off the ancient door and let the living light back in. From Qumran caves to crowded airwaves, from the script to the speaking room, gotta follow the thread through the centuries and call the children out of gloom. No price on the pages, no purse for the proof, just a voice for the voiceless and a roof for the truth. Hear the bright good news, bring the matter back to the blue. Sound the signal strong, Yahweh's name has waited too long. Yahweh knows, so Yahweh shows where the river of revelation flows. Not religion, not a ruler scar, just truth on the tongue of the Yasha'yah is more than reading, more than a word in a weathered line. It is knowing, naming, noticing the Father's mind meeting mine. Torah, not a tethered burden, but a trail through the thorns and thistles. A signed invitation home to family, not a book of religious whistles. Doubt sang first from the doorway, the beloved bore the cost. The Lamb crossed death and opened life for every child once lost. And the herald holds up the lantern, not claiming the light as his own. He points through the fog of falsehood to the Father, the family, the home. No creed to control you, no laws to command, just Yahweh's witness promise back into the people who chase people are the loudest people in the room. We're talking, always talking, never listening, and yet letting ego hide all the truth inside, acting more righteous than right. Critics are very certain people, they're the loudest people in the world, with one target, one very easy target, a feeling deep in their chests as they know all the rest. No need to examine first, just be a voice that needs to curse. People who predate people, voices that need a villain, are the weakest voices in the room, with one mirror, one very honest mirror, feeling deep in the soul, says they're fragment, not whole. People who hate certain people, who mix lies and religion, conspiracy and coercion as manufactured consent to deceive people. No more truth and no more light, till they stop the fight. Voices that deceive are the weakest voices in the room. People are most deceived in themselves and to their ends. People. Shabbat, Shabbat, come home and rest. Shabbat, Shabbat, Yahowah's best. Lay down the weak, let your soul be free. Shabbat, Shabbat, come back to me. 6 days we work, then we bask. We leave the noise to hear Yah's voice. We listen, we learn, we struggle to know. We walk with Yah through the mikveh. Shabbat, come back to me.